What's up? Welcome back to Nostalgia. Dave here. Another podcast. What's going on in pop culture right now? Bunch of stuff to get into this week. New album from Doja Cat. Very excited to get into that. New album from Headie One and K-Trap. New album from Lil Tecca. The writer's strike is over. The second longest in history at last. Also, the debut EP from XG. Very exciting. K-pop, J-pop group. So a lot to get into there. Make sure you subscribe. YouTube.com/nostalgiapod, Linktree.com/nostalgiapod. Hit the links below. Do what you gotta do. Get the pod somehow, some way. And of course, see the links below as well for the best of 2023 Spotify playlist, my favorite songs of the year updated weekly. Let's get into it. What's up? Welcome back to Nostalgia. Dave here with a reaction to the writer's strike ending. The 2023 Writers Guild strike is over after 146 days. The second longest writer's strike in Hollywood history. Of course, it's not still official. They have to ratify that. That'll take some more time. But it's done. And it's very monumental, obviously. Now, SAG-AFTRA, the actors, are still on strike as well, but they are reportedly planning to meet with AMPT, the studios, the distributors, in the coming days. All the talk all along has been the writers were at the forefront of the fight. The actors will probably now follow suit and settle as well. So there's probably not going to be too much trouble with that. And yeah, I mean, there's so many starts and stops, so many allegations of bad faith, particularly from the writers onto the studios. The strike is over, and by all accounts, I would say the writers won. They got stuff that they were not being offered on May 1st. Significant advances to the proposal, and that is good. Broadly, obviously, and I think there's a lot to learn from how this went. Obviously, organized labor, union labor, is very strong right now. Look no further than what's happening with auto workers across other industries. SAG for the video game actors, voice actors, and mocap actors have authorized a strike as well. Union labor is going well, and whether it's a convenient time for the industry and given the economy, kind of doesn't really matter because it's about the actual workers doing the work, right? And yeah, I think just broadly in terms of the writer's strike, right? They got the broad minimums raised in terms of pay raises across the board to be expected. That's kind of the bare minimum whenever a new contract comes up. This is of course a 3-year contract, but some of the key sticking points that led to the strike, led to the disconnect between the studios and the Writers Guild. When it comes to staffing, minimums based on episode count have been agreed to. Now, that wasn't the full ask of the writers. The writers wanted mandatory minimums for writers' rooms, kind of a effort to combat the mini room and how the studios have often been basically cutting writers out and in cost cutting the field in a certain sense. So it's not the full ask, but getting some kind of minimum standard applied, this time based on episode count. The showrunners will still have some say in how things go. It's certainly an improvement. Perhaps the biggest sticking point of all, the writers got broad artificial intelligence protections in terms of their work. Now, there was a stipulation that the studios can use AI to experiment, but there seems to be a clear delineation. Again, this is a huge win, given there was nothing about AI in the initial proposal before. This is good. Consumption-based residuals. Again, we don't know the exact details of this, but consumption-based residuals, important. Not that anyone was ever expecting the writers to get the old school residual model back, in the days of syndication. You're not going to get the Friends, Seinfeld level paydays that no one expected that to ever come back. But some kind of consumption-based residual where if a show does well, your residual is in fact stronger, and not just kind of a generic buy out in the beginning. This is, I think, a really smart and important thing to fight for, because the old residual pay structure that did exist, kind of really didn't exist at all, was outdated for the streaming landscape. And I think this is certainly an improvement. Now, it's not like all rosy, I think, on this front. Like, there was a lot of big fight for data transparency. And that was a huge sticking point for the studios, especially a huge sticking point for the tech companies, right? Amazon, Apple, and Netflix, especially, right? Data will be shared with a small group of people. The broad membership, the broad public won't learn about the data, but people will at least have some insight. At least the guild leaders will have some insight into what's doing well. So again, a win in a certain sense, a refresh to how the writers are treated in the streaming model. Now, I think it's the takeaways on this. I think we had there seemed to be some showrunners putting some pressure on the guild to get things done, and of course on the other side, with all the studio CEOs, all the famous people, right, Bob Iger, Zaslav, etc., getting really involved in person in the most recent round of negotiations. Pressure on all sides to get this done, obviously, because of the damage it causes to the industry as a work stoppage. The effects will be seen for a while, even if the actors resolve their dispute soon. And I think the social media support for the writers and the vitriol thrown at the CEOs of the studios, particularly the villainization of the studios, that was probably something unforeseen by the AMPTP, and I think it goes a long way to just the general sentiment of how these people are viewed, and that was probably unforced error on their part. Every headline about the studios hiring crisis firms while they were refusing to actually negotiate in good faith, and just kind of getting exposed for not making counter proposals and immediately so obviously leaking to the trade papers. And I think the trade papers as well got pretty exposed for being just bootlicking to the studios. Deadline, Variety, Hollywood Reporter, but really Deadline, Variety especially, looked absolutely horrible in how they frame certain things, I have to say. I don't think people will forget that. Yeah, I mean, so much of the damage is already done, right? Dune delayed to March, Challengers delayed to, I believe, April, delayed to the spring, right? Craving the Hunter delayed all the way to August. I thank God for the Taylor Swift Eras Tour concert movie, to be completely honest, because that box office is needed for the fall, for the theaters and the business and whatnot. Um, it's really a shame that this had to come to this, but that's why you don't back down, because you have to fight for these things. Because if you don't fight for them now, how are you going to fight for them later? How's it going to be any better? There's no time like now, so it's a huge win for the little people, for the writers, right? Again, some of the narratives thrown out there about the really famous people that make a lot of money well above the minimums, they were not the ones being fought for with this, despite their support. I think that's kind of obvious to most people with critical thinking in their brains. Nonetheless, the strike is done. We expect the actors' strike to end soon. SAG, the Hollywood actors, anyway. I think the video game stuff is going to be completely separate for now, but positive development. Hopefully, this leads to no more film delays, because as soon as the actors' strike gets resolved, actors can get back to promoting their work, and thus studios won't feel the need to push things out to give those projects a better chance of succeeding at a future date. So hopefully the damage is done there. We'll see about future release dates though with tentpoles, right? Because a lot of tentpoles for 2024 and beyond were not finished, and now there's a huge crunch on talent getting back to work and scheduling that talent. You can't just finish every single movie at the same time. There's not enough time in the day, obviously. So there'll still be ramifications to all that. We'll see how those dominoes play out. But at least the worst of it is over. The writer's strike, the second longest in Hollywood history, has concluded. Let me know, how do you feel about how this has all gone? What do you think the lasting impact will be? Obviously, this will not be the last time we talk about AI in Hollywood, but the first salvo went about as good as it could have gone, mostly, we think. But let me know how you feel about it. And for more reactions to work stoppages in the entertainment industry, subscribe, and I'll see you next time. What's up, welcome back to Nostalgia. Dave here with a review of XG's debut EP, New DNA. XG have made a lot of noise in a very short amount of time since debuting with just a single or two in 2022, and it's been a really interesting, I think, kind of rise and just an interesting group in general. I like XG. I've liked a lot of their singles. I think the music is really fun, and it's kind of in its own little lane, which is really enjoyable and cool that somebody new can rise up and find something new to do, new kind of spin with the music. Also, very interesting with the whole concept of this group. It's a 7-member group. All the members are Japanese, and yet they're managed by a Japanese company. The record label is a subsidiary of Avex, the big J-pop media conglomerate, and yet XG is based in Korea and seemingly targeting K-pop audiences, performing at KCON LA in the United States, performing at the Head in the Clouds music festivals in the US this year as well. Seem to be targeting K-pop audiences, K-pop industry in general, K-pop, music shows too, and yet they're making music in English and they're managed and all from Japan. So I think kind of interesting example of how Southeast Asian music is getting more global and I guess homogenized in a certain sense. I do find it a bit interesting that they're not even targeting Japanese audiences that much. It seems pretty clear. We don't really see that right now. Anyway, I think what's cool about XG, despite their multinational organization and whatnot, what's interesting about XG is the music. And to me, it's the type of, I'm going to call them K-pop, even though I know there's an asterisk there. It's the type of K-pop that I like because it's very hip-hop heavy and it's just kind of right up my alley. I think XG, these women, they're some of the best rappers in K-pop, broader K-pop right now. And that's really fun. They're giving you trap beats like the whole time and they're just rapping on them. Sometimes they're like dropping ad libs, like they're like really doing it, and intersplicing that with some broader pop leaning music, some R&B influence as well. It's really appealing. They haven't released a whole lot of music yet, and of this New DNA debut EP, 6 songs, 3 of them are new, one of those of which is really just an interlude. So it's really only 2 new songs. Those 2 new songs would be X Gene and Puppet Show, which got the music video, joining previously released singles Girl Gang, TGIF, and New Dance, as well as the interlude Heisonu. I think just kind of going through these tracks, X Gene production-wise kind of stands out right away because it's almost like an epic, like sci-fi movie type vibe. The way it starts, going right into the rap flows, and I think these ladies are really cool because they all have different flows. They kind of switch up that energy, switch up that delivery on you as they trade bars within like the space of a full verse or something like that. The ad libs are just really fun and like you just don't hear them that often in K-pop music. Pretty cool. Girl Gang, I think this is just a really catchy, hip hop banger. The second verse, the flow is awesome. This is just all flexing, all braggadocio. In general, like lyrically, XG is like, you could call it shallow. It's simple, let's say, but like, I don't know, the flexing stuff to me is just really fun from them. I think Girl Gang, the hook in particular, very catchy. I like this one a lot. TGIF, I think the rap verse and the second rap verse really stands out here. And the hook, again, there's just catchy elements to some of this writing, Thank God I'm fly. You call it cocky. I call it true. Like, I just I love the swag on these songs. New Dance. This is probably the best song they've released to me. There's been a lot of love for one of the earlier singles, Shooting Star, as well as Left Right. And they've got some high-profile remixes already as well with Sierra and Rico Nasty, Jackson Wang. Despite all that, to me, New Dance is awesome because this is very up-tempo, probably their most pop-leaning of all the recent songs. almost kind of like a throwed out pop leaning song, and despite all that, they're combining that still with, uh, like verses with bars. And I think just like the whole vibe on this song is really catchy, and I think that's one that's going to kind of rise up those playlists and really do numbers for XG. They're already seemingly a pretty successful group with playlisting on streaming. I'd expect that to continue with New Dance, which is only released as a single just a few weeks ago. And then the latest new song, really, after XG, is Puppet Show. And to me, this is kind of like a show of what's to come from XG as a group in terms of like creatively and musically, like what can they do? Because the hook is a bit of a different vibe. And like I think just the overall style that they're giving you on this is really, again, catchy. This is a fun music video as well. I think one note people have had with this group is some of the hair and some of the general like aesthetics they're putting on, where like some people think they're trying too hard to be quote hip hop. Of course, I would say just be yourselves, don't appropriate anything culturally, and just do what you gotta do, because I think the flow is good. I think they have rap ability, and it sounds cool. I think in terms of the vision for this group, in terms of what people are trying to accomplish with XG, I guess in a sense it's a little unclear because there's only been so much music, but I think just the catchiness and the really willingness to dive into making like K-pop, hip-hop bangers that also, of course, have some choruses and sung elements to them, but like really leaning into the trap production, I think is what's really setting apart XG for sure, for me. And the fact that, again, the rap ability is good and backing it up, I think actually makes it pretty exciting. So definitely an artist, a group, that came out of nowhere. Again, the whole Japanese group operated in Korea, targeting Korean audiences, targeting Western audiences with mainly English songs. It's a bit of an interesting strategy. We'll see how all of that shakes out. But XG, New DNA, XG in general, I'm a fan. Let me know. How did you feel about XG's New DNA? What do you want to hear from this group moving forward as we hopefully approach a full-length album soon? And for more K-pop reviews, music reviews, subscribe. And I'll see you next time. What's up, welcome back to Nostalgia. Dave here with a review of Lil Tecca's third album, Tech. Yes, Tecca is back with his best album to date. And, I didn't necessarily see this coming, but I'm very happy with how this turned out and the very warm reception Lil Tecca is getting from his fans, because a little stop and go with Lil Tecca with the last few releases. Debut album Virgo World was a big disappointment to me. His second album, We Love You Tecca, from 2021, also very, very lackluster to me. And I started having my doubts about Lil Tecca's, viability as an artist. Lest we forget, back in 2019, he dropped the absolute smash hit Ransom, up to 1.2 billion streams on Spotify right now, a song he dropped when he was only 16. Now, Lil Tecca is only 21. 3 albums, 1 mixtape later. Yet he's had like a decent chunk of a career already, right? But I was having a lot of doubts that he was going to replicate the success of Ransom and some of the other songs off that debut We Love You Tecca tape, just because I was hearing diminishing returns and really just, I think, uninspired music on the other projects. But this third album, Tech, though, is very inspired and also really fun to listen to. I think what I didn't expect about this more than anything is that the production is a huge standout on Tech. The transitions from song to song, this intentional sequencing and conception of the production of Tech goes such a long way. I mean, right off the bat, track 3, Gist, the way that ends into track 4, 500 Pounds, one of the singles, the synths hitting, and then the bass hits over the synths when the new song starts. It sounds incredible. He basically does the same trick again with real discussions into Dead or Alive. And it's the type of transition that's so seamless, you actually don't quite realize the song has switched over unless you're watching it happen, checking the screen and whatnot. And I think I just really love the craft behind this. So again, shout out the producers, shout out the engineers, shout out Tecca for being this intentional with everything. And in terms of the actual music, I think Tech, he gives you, I think, a lot of variety from him, which is not something I was saying with the more recent projects. In general, I think this is just a big step up. You know, um, I mean, just right off the bat, right? Like 500 pounds. I think that shit's just really good. Beat hits. Tekka's fun. Tekka, what we know about him, how he raps, right? He's got that melodic, sing-songy flow down. That is his bag. That is why Ransom is such a hit, such an earworm, right? But obviously, he's not reinventing the wheel with his sound or anything on this, but he's giving you different spins on that sound, and I think that's what stands out to me. I think like songs like Tech, songs like Salty, these are fun beats, almost a little cartoony, almost a little twinkly, just kind of a different little vibe for Tekka as he's on there. I think Dead or Alive is probably my favorite track though, just because this is kind of a rage beat. This is a yeet beat, and Tekka kind of bringing his voice register actually up a little bit on this song. His flow just fits this, and giving you these quick punchlines. I think it's just really fun, really catchy song. You Don't Know Tech. The 808s are hitting on that. Another quick tempo one, just a fun flow from Tekka. Monday to Sunday, I think that's another fun one. Tripping on You though, that one I think stands out because that one's a slower tempo, a bit silkier, a bit softer from Tekka, like a gentler kind of delivery. But I think that works as kind of a switch up type idea there. Um, yeah, I was not expecting to like love or even really like a tech album in 2023 just because it had been a minute, right? Like I'm a big fan of Ransom, I'm a big fan of Shots and Did It Again and Love Me, but those are all songs from 2019. I like Dolly from Virgo World, but I kind of like that because it had an old ass Uzi feature on it. He really impressed me with this. And, he comes across as, I think, a really likable guy, down to earth, so does a lot of home recording versus doing stuff in studio. Also seems to be pretty hardworking. Said he's like multiple projects ahead of this one already. So I'd say I'm all the way back in on Lil Tecca, who's still only 21 years old and already has, of course, a 4 times platinum hit to his name. So yeah, shout out Lil Tecca. Like I think this was a really, I don't want to say it was really tight. Like I could have lost a few tracks on this, but overall I think it was fun. There was variety on this, and again, the production and the sequencing, the transitions really stand out, and more than anything, communicate to you that this is an intentional, thoughtful artist. You know, 2 features on Tech are artists I consider a lot less thoughtful. Ken Carson, especially, didn't really care for that song. Fell in Love, and also Heaven on Earth with Kodak Black, which is getting a pretty warm reception. I think the song's okay, but I've never been a Kodak guy. Um, I really just cared for the stuff that was just Tekka. But let me know, how did you feel about Lil Tecca's third album, Tech? Do you agree that this is his best overall project to date? What do you want to hear from Lil Tecca next? And for more rap reviews, more music reviews, subscribe, and I'll see you next time. What's up, Well Met Nostalgia? Dave here with a review of Headie One and K-Trap's collaborative mixtape, Strength to Strength. Of course, Headie One, arguably the face of UK drill music over in the UK, and K-Trap, one of the artists at behind one of the signature UK drill songs ever in Warm. Quite the powerful combination, right? Headie One towards the upper echelon of UK rappers, period. You know, anything he does is worth attention. I've been a fan of his for some time. I think he's just a really engaging artist. And then K-Trap, I think it really can't be overstated just how much K-Trap has accomplished with Warm. Obviously, K-Trap has a lot of projects out, but Warm is kind of like an instant classic UK rap song. In, the few years it's been out now, like there's just such reverence for that track and just how hard it goes, how quotable it is, how memorable it is. Getting a very good Skepta remix as well. Like that's a classic, and therefore you get fireworks when you put these two together. Like, this is exciting. We just got this, a few months back with Central C and Dave making a collab project as well. So I hope this trend continues because it's very fun and very exciting every time. Strength to Strength, 10 songs, 32 minutes. It's like a full length mixtape, you know? And I think kind of unsurprisingly, it's just hard as fuck, man. This is just a great drill tape. It's awesome, you know? In a sense, there's nothing that surprising about it, but it's just high level. It's good. I think in terms of production, this is quintessential UK drill. It is gloomy, it is dark, it is mean, it is dangerous. All those things you think about with the keys, the hauntingness of the vibe you get with drill production, especially UK drill production. That's what you get on Strength to Strength. And, Headie and K-Trap, this is their back. They know what they're doing. And it sounds pretty good. Track one, uh, Park Chin Was, K-Trap on the chorus, sounds great. Headie One, I really, really enjoyed his third verse on this, where, God, he's just spitting so fast. The flow is so great. Like, the opening line in the third verse, the op wanna spit sativa, still put smoke on a Wiz Khalifa. The way Headie, like, gets that out in, like, 3 seconds, it just sounds so good. And I think Headie One, some of his flows are just like the most earwormy shit ever. I think of stuff like beggars can't be choosers from a few tapes back. Like, when Headie's on one, like, he's really, like, I just think, like, really feeling it. Like, it's and I think, to be honest, like, that's kind of most of this tape. Like, I don't think any of it's phoned in at all, and it's quite the look for K-Trap too, who is not, like, quite as, like, mainstream, at least outside of the UK certainly, but not as mainstream, like, in that echelon, right? But obviously, again, really well known because of Warm and, like, because of his, I think, breadth of material at this point. But yeah, track one, Park Chin Was, really good. Catfish, I like this one again. I think Headie on this, awesome quotable. Now we eat Pilo and rice. Sorry, now we eat Pilo, rice, and fish. Ain't it different? And the way he says "ain't it different" is the exact inflection he does on his song with AJ Tracy and Dave. Sorry, AJ Tracy and Stormzy, which of course is a monster hit, as everyone knows. But that, like, immediately made me smile. Just like, ah, yes, love the reference here. Trending topic. I think K-Trap's delivery on the chorus is great, and also the way he kind of switches up his delivery mid-chorus, like, really stood out to me. Thought that was awesome. Good Girls. This one stands out because it's still very clearly drill production, but it's softer sounding, and the delivery from Heads and K-Trap is softer. This is kind of more of, like, the quote, like, romantic lyrics that you can find in a drill song, and I think it really works. Like, it's a nice, like, switch up of the tempo, switch up of the vibe briefly from some of the super hard stuff that you get elsewhere on Strength to Strength. So I think that was a nice touch there. 2 tracks later, ANPR. I love that one just because that is, like, banger punchlines, like, all the time. That one sounds hard, sounds great, and yeah, I mean, like, I don't think there's a whole lot more to say. Like, there's just, I think, such, like, economy in the way Headie One raps often. Like, he can say a lot because he can be really dexterous with his flows, but also, like, I don't know, there's like an efficiency to how he raps where he can say a lot, but it doesn't, like, wear on you. And I think K-Trap actually often it's doing hooks with Headie on this project, but he quits himself really well as well, and hopefully this engenders him to a much bigger audience. One would hope. Um, but yeah, man, these star collabs over in the UK, it's certainly not something I was really thinking about as, like, a possibility, But now it just kind of gives you more ideas of what else is to come. Obviously, Headie One, about a year ago, almost a year ago, released that his last release, the No Borders European Compilation Project, as the name suggests, was a compilation project with other rappers less known than him. Um, and he has done some like mixtapes with producers, right? Obviously, the Gang tape with Fred again, before Fred again truly blew up, comes to mind. I would love to hear more stuff from other UK artists as well, but I'm sure Headie One will be working. He seems to be quite busy, and even though Central C is the hottest right now, I think Headie still has the drill crown over in the UK, at least for now. But let me know, how did you feel about Strength to Strength? What do you want to hear next from Headie One and K-Trap? And for more UK rap reviews, more rap reviews in general, music reviews, subscribe, and I'll see you next time. What's up, Well Mac Nostalgia? Dave here with a review of Doja Cat's fourth album, Scarlet. Man, a lot going on in the world of Doja Cat leading up to this album. I think that's just what we come to expect from Doja, and why I think she's a very interesting both pop star and rapper, because she is not afraid to take risks both musically and also in terms of her public persona. Certainly recently, her relationship to her fans, saying a lot of things, denigrating the more stan inclined fans, to the point of losing 500,000 Instagram followers. And yet, Doja Cat's, I believe it was the second single in the lead up to Scarlet, Paint the Town Red, became Doja's second number one hit of her career, her first solo number one after Say So remix. And yeah, if anything, she's as big as ever following all the controversy. Now, the album sales aren't looking quite as strong as before, but this is not as overtly pop leaning as Hot Pink or Planet her last two albums were. So I guess that's a little bit to be expected. But yeah, I think Doja Cat with Scarlet, it's a great record. I loved Planet Her. That was, I believe, in my top 3 albums of 2021. So I've been a fan. But Scarlet really impressed me. I think just with its playfulness, with its desire to look both to the past for musical inspiration in terms of genre flipping and whatnot. And yeah, I think it's really great. Perhaps her best album, certainly in the top 2 with Planet Her, in my opinion. They're quite different records. But yeah, I really like Scarlet. I think Doja, like I said, her willingness to just take risks and change up her sound, change up her, certainly her aesthetic, her persona on publicly. She really is kind of a one of one in this, is because a lot of pop stars are playing it very safe. A lot of pop stars are using very obvious and overt and heavy-handed samples in pop music. We've talked about this all year. People know, right? And that's not just pop stars, that's also rappers, that's really everyone these days in mainstream music. And Doja, there's not samples, on Scarlet, of course. Paint the Town Red, quite famously, has the Dionne Warwick sample, Walk On By. But Doja, I feel like she's more looking for future musical decisions. A song like FTG, Fuck the Girls, off Scarlet, is basically a 90s rap song, bringing you this high energy flow, almost like a chanty style hook. It sounds like something from the past, and that's really cool. I think further along, like towards the end of the track list, Bakut, that's a boom bap song. Again, not of this time. It's just cool that she's able to do stuff like that. But I think really we got to start with Paint the Town Red, because that's a number one hit. That's Doja rapping, man. I think Doja, in the lead up to Scarlet, before we knew the album title, things of that nature, Doja Cat was telling us that she actually didn't even look that fondly on her past bars, but she was going to be about that action, be about that rapping with this album. And in the past, about was a year ago, 2 years ago, Remy Ma said that she didn't even think of Doja Cat as a rapper. She's got a lot of negativity when she's been included in rap conversations, because yes, she does sing. Some of her biggest songs are more pop leaning songs. Notably, this type of criticism is not labeled at male rappers who also sing. They seem to still be able to be called rappers. Doja Cat clearly is a rapper, and clearly a very good rapper, just incredibly competent and dexterous with her delivery, with her flows, and also really witty and fun. Like, she's an awesome rapper. That's why I'm a big fan of hers, first and foremost. And God, does she bring the bars with this? And Paint the Town Red is a number one song that is all bars. It's awesome. And I have to say, like the way she modulates her voice on that song, the beat, like with the snaps, the way the bass hits on that, it's all the Doja Cat like qualities you think of in terms of vocal delivery, but it's really just a bunch of verses, and they're fun verses at that. I think like it's a great song. The sample is used very well, and the hook, from Doja, where she changes up like the delivery a little bit, the "Ooh, she's a devil" part, that is so damn catchy because we know Doja's got some pop ability, and yeah, I mean, it's a banger, straight up. Probably going to be on my top 10 songs of the year, to be honest. Um, Track two, Demons, man, that beat is crazy. I love that track. Uh, just the playful voice that she can give you, almost going into like a spoken word style rap flow. Like her ability to operate in all kinds of different spaces, what makes her so exciting. Um, Track three, Wet Vagina, obviously amazing track title. You expect nothing less from Doja Cat, but just the line, "I bring the drip with wet vagina," it's hilarious. She's really funny. I mentioned FTG. Ouchies, very high energy, quick tempo, London on the track beat. I got to shout out, speaking of producers, further down, Agora Hills, produced by Earl on the Beat. Earl on the Beat also did Paint the Town Red. Awesome look for Earl on the Beat. He kind of came up as like the first like true like producer collaborative partner with Little Yachty when Yachty was coming up, obviously back in the day. Nice to hear from Earl. I haven't really heard too much from Earl on the Beat lately, but this is obviously a huge look for him. That's nice. Um, yeah, so Ouchies, I loved on verse two. 100 Billies, I'm the GOAT, no Eilish. Nice fun line there. 97, 97. The song, I loved the keys on the production there. Kind of like the double vocals from Doja, like almost like call and responding to herself, sounded really cool. And I think lyrically, perhaps the most like prescient, like current, like lyrics on the album, where Doja is basically talking to her fans, her critical fans. Some of the fans maybe aren't fans of hers anymore, so right, kind of following up all the explosion that happened between her and her fans earlier in the summer, speaking about engagement and how she's able to use that to be successful, kind of just speaking to the general attention internet economy and showcasing obviously how smart she is in terms of how she markets herself, how she propels her career, and speaking directly to the controversy as well. I thought that was and done in like a fun like rapping way. Like the bars are good. Like she has just really quick punchy bars when she wants them, and using that in that context I think sounds really cool. um, it's no surprise that Doja would openly acknowledge this kind of um, awareness of how she approaches putting herself out there and using the internet and things of that nature. Of course, she blew up with a meme song called "Moo, Bitch I'm a Cow," as we know, right? She she's been about that, like we know this, but it's just cool to hear it actually in a song too. I thought "Go Off," the flow was pretty good. The bass hits were awesome there. Shut Joe, that might be one of my favorites on this. That is just hard bars from Doja, great. Agora Hills, this has been getting a lot of love. Very catchy chorus. Kind of a sing like a kind of a classic quintessential Doja song where you have this melodic chorus that's very catchy, and it's bookended by just really hard bars on either side. Like I also, that's probably the best song on here after Paint the Town Red. Really interesting. I really like this one a lot. Can't Wait right after that. You have the really noticeable sample that we've heard many times, right? It's the Honey Dripper song, Impeach the Presidents, the use of those drums specifically. You recognize it when you hear it, but it's done really well. And like the bars on this are just kind of Doja like being lustful, like speaking about affection and love and or attraction and relationships. And I think it's done really well, and like again, it's engaging production. I mentioned Bakut, which is just kind of, I'm sorry, Balut, which is really cool boom bap. And yeah, I mean, 17 songs, 57 minutes. Maybe I could have lost a few songs towards the end, but overall, man, like, and the fact that this is also no features, big switch up from Planet Her. I think it's kind of a lot to sit with, just because Doja's able to switch up what she does so often. That's what makes her so interesting musically, and I find it so fun because she backs up every all the attention and controversy she generates publicly on the internet, etc. And obviously, she puts her foot in her mouth from time to time. She said controversial things. She's done messed up things. She's been associated with Dr. Luke, posted everything with Kesha. She's been associated with other people, etc., etc. She's a messy person, but she's also a really compelling pop star and a great rapper. So I'm thankful that we have Doja Cat, and I like Scarlet quite a bit, and I think Paint the Town Red's one of the best songs of the year. But let me know, how did you feel about Doja Cat's Scarlet? How would you compare it to Planet Her, an album I also love, but an album that's very different than Scarlet? And for more rap reviews, more pop reviews, more music reviews, subscribe, and I'll see you next time. All right, that's going to do it for the pod this week. Next week, very excited to get into Gareth Edwards' sci-fi film, The Creator, starring John David Washington, out in theaters. An original, big budget sci-fi film, very exciting. Also going to talk about Sex Education Season 4, the fourth and final season on Netflix. Been a little late getting to that, but definitely got to get into that, of course. Also going to talk about Gen V, the Boys Amazon prequel series about college kids. Love it. I love the concept. Can't wait to get into it. Uh, Wes Anderson has released a short film, or will be releasing a short film on Netflix, The Wonderful Story of Henry Sugar. It's supposed to be pretty good. Obviously, it's Wes Anderson. We're watching it. We're talking about it. Case closed. And, oh yeah, new music from Georgia Smith, one of the most exciting people in R&B. Let's go. Make sure you subscribe. YouTube.com/nostalgiapod, Linktree.com/nostalgiapod. Get the pod any way you can. Just make sure you get it. See the links below for that, as well as the best of 2023 Spotify playlist, my favorite songs of the year updated weekly. Let me know what's good, and I'll see you next week.